Okay, so this is my film review over Beasts of No Nation, and um, it was a really heavy movie. It's just a lot to take in, and so I'm just gonna. I think the best way to go about this is just to kind of go with the questions, see what there is, and kind of go from there. And so, um, because if I just keep talking like this, I'm going to ramble on for 30 minutes. And so I can process at my own time. And so um, the human rights presented, the human right issues presented were based in Africa. I don't. It wasn't explicitly said where it was. I think there was a mention of Sierra Leone. I don't know. I may be making that up because I'm still processing. And so it's about this family. They're they're in a very impoverished area. The stereotypical walking to the water, bringing back a trough, um, making up fun games, just kind of this like doing what they can to bypass time. And so um, they're under a regime. It's not specifically said as to who it is or where it is. They just mention the capital. And so um, at some point, something happened where their military protection was compromised. And so the community got wind of it, and there was just a lot of chaos. And so, to the point where the father of Agu, the focal point in the movie, and Agu isn't more than 10 years old. Or any less than 10 years old. He's very young, very much a child. And he has a brother, a sister, a baby sister, mom and a dad, and his dad pays this taxi driver that is just completely flooded with people, stacked from the floorboard to the roof of people, and stacks of suitcases trying to flee the country to escape this regime, and leaving behind, like, to the point where he bought a spot for his wife and his small child, and with no idea what was to come. And so you can kind of see the displacement that will happen. That is very applicable to right now. And so to skip forward a little bit, during this time of unknown, their hiding spot gets compromised, and the father and the son end up dying, leaving Agu and an 8-year-old boy, maybe, alone to fend for himself. And so the human rights are centered around the people of Africa, specifically the child soldier crisis that is currently happening. It's happening right now. I guess I didn't really like. I know I can see how people may get a bland look at how this is just stereotyping Africa all over again, but um, I think it sheds light on the torment that Africa has endured, and it also shows child soldiers are it's a very big issue right now. They're easily manipulated to do whatever you want, and um, especially a boy like Agu who just lost everything. Um, where else is he going to go? And so I look at it, and I understand the frustration of how um, someone watching this movie be like, I don't know how you watch this movie. I don't know how people watch these kind of movies, but um, I I guess I think the thing that we can continue to do is simply be angry with the colonialism and its consequences, um, especially in an effort to find solutions to the issues that Africans face. Um, we know that um, the people there are experiencing a lot of torment, and so this movie did a really good job of shedding light on the psychological warfare that was going on, the physical warfare that was going on, um, the awful things that the commandant, is what he called himself, would put these kids through, having them execute people, um, really traumatizing them to the point where they are, one with their commandant. And so um, there's a ton of human rights issues that are there, that are present. Golly, I would say, freedom of movement is one of them. We can go down the list of like um, Article 25, like, shelter, water, food, clothing, um, born free and equal in dignity and rights, and free from slavery. Honestly, when I mean, there are some articles that are not necessarily applicable, but the arbitrary arrest is one that I think about, especially considering the way in which the brother and the father and a bunch of people were executed. They pulled aside someone who was experiencing auditory visual hallucinations and was classified as a witch in the village, and the infiltrators, the regime, came in and made that lady choose who was bad just on bad juju. And she pointed to several people, and they executed them on the spot. And there was no public hearing. There was no it just there's a laundry list of human rights issues. And so when I think of like the thing that I'm really stuck on is what roles for social work and social workers can play. And and I guess like where I come from, where I'm the reason I'm struggling with it is because this is a pretty global issue. It's a absolutely a macro level practice that is needing addressed. And so at the end of the movie, Agu is rescued after going to hostels, being subject to psychological trauma, sexual trauma from the commandant, who by there it was insinuated of sexual abuse. I can only imagine he molested the kid or sexually assaulted Agu, but it wasn't clear. But by the body language and the way Agu went about the rest of the movie, it was very evident that the commandant did something that night, and there was no turning back. And so at the end of the movie, when they were rescued, they went to this safe haven, and there was therapy provided, there was education provided, and ultimately a playful environment for kids to just be kids. I think that is at the core of what social wealth work is able to do. If we're thinking like instant gratification of what we have the ability to hold in our hands is to be readily available for a time as that, um, to provide that pro bono service, to um, ensure safety and health and well-being of our most vulnerable, especially the kiddos, whose brains aren't fully developed, experiencing the trauma that was being a child soldier and seeing terrible things. And we see that with Agu at the end, where he um, expressed that he hates the sun because he just only sees darkness. Um, and then as he refers to himself as a beast and a terrible person, and he's done terrible things, um, the therapist is just present. Um, and I think that's kind of what Agu needed in the moment, was someone to just be quiet, to hear his torment and to validate his torment. And then he's wandering. And it's huge spoiler alerts if you haven't seen the movie. Walks off, and there's a ocean with all the kids playing with the ball, and just like a pretty interesting imagery of kids being kids, being allowed to play with a ball, being allowed to go into the water and swim, all promote like a health and wellness. Kids need that playfulness. And so I guess I'm open to suggestions as to what social workers could do. I think at the core of it, I think that is what social workers are able to do. I guess the other thing that I can think of that's just kind of off the cuff is we have access, and this is a pretty ableist point of view, I recognize that, but I mean, it's just more food for thought because I'm still processing. It would be when refugees come, we have access to technology, and creating like a social media account or something to help with the displacement, so that they know where their people are, their family is. And if that's not available to them, at least that they can find connections to potential family. That's really the only thing I can think of that would be instant and instantaneous, and that can be completed right away. Other than that, I'm open to suggestions. There's a slew of human rights issues that went on. I'm well over 5 minutes. I apologize. But I just wanted to make sure that there are just a lot of challenges when it comes to global policy, global torment, and significant human rights and social justice boundaries that are shattered and are non-existent. And so I would love the feedback because I don't know. I really don't. And if there is someone that does know, I would love to be informed, because I want to make sure I'm doing a good job. And as a social worker, I'm not doing a good job if I'm not willing to learn further than what I'm allowing myself to, considering I'm just processing still. So with that, I rest.